December 1972. Apollo 17. Astronauts. Eugene Cernan and Harrison Schmitt climbed into their lunar module for the last time. As they lifted off from the moon's surface, Cernan spoke the final words from a human on another world. "We leave as we came, and God willing, as we shall return, with peace and hope for all mankind." 55 years will have passed, an entire human generation. People born after Apollo 17 have grown old without seeing anyone walk on the moon. But in mid-2027, that ends. Artemis III will land 2 astronauts on the moon's south pole. Not the familiar lunar Maria, the flat, dark plains Apollo explored, but a rugged, crater-scarred region of extreme contrasts. Permanently shadowed craters holding billions of tons of water ice. Adjacent peaks bathed in near-constant sunlight. Temperatures swinging from -230 to +120 degrees Celsius. This is the frontier, and for the first time, a woman will walk on the moon. For the first time, a person of color will walk on the moon. They'll spend about a week on the surface, far longer than any Apollo mission. 4 moonwalks, scientific experiments, drilling for ice, testing technologies for permanent bases, and they'll do it using the most advanced spacecraft ever built, SpaceX's Starship Human Landing System, a towering, gleaming vehicle capable of carrying dozens of tons of cargo and crew. This isn't a repeat of Apollo. This is the beginning of permanent human presence on the moon, and it starts with Artemis III. Welcome to humanity's return. The moon is waiting, and this time, we're staying. Artemis III is the culmination of NASA's Artemis program. Artemis III, flown in 2022, was an uncrewed test of the Space Launch System and Orion spacecraft. It looped around the moon and returned successfully. Artemis II, launching February 2026, will carry 4 astronauts on a lunar flyby, no landing, but testing all systems with crew aboard. And then, Artemis III, mid-2027, will land. The mission architecture is complex. 4 astronauts launch from Kennedy Space Center atop the Space Launch System, SLS. Orion carries them to lunar orbit, entering a near-rectilinear halo orbit, NRHO. This orbit is unique, highly elliptical, passing close to the lunar South Pole and far from the North Pole. NRHO is gravitationally stable, requiring minimal fuel to maintain. It's also ideal for communications with Earth and access to the South Pole. In NRHO, Orion docks with SpaceX's Starship Human Landing System, HLS. Starship has already been pre-positioned in lunar orbit through multiple refueling flights, a key part of SpaceX's concept. Starship is massive, over 50 meters tall, stainless steel construction, capable of carrying 100 tons to the lunar surface. For Artemis III, 2 astronauts transfer from Orion to Starship. The other 2 remain aboard Orion, orbiting and monitoring. Starship then descends. Unlike Apollo's single-stage lunar module, Starship is a fully reusable spacecraft. It uses Raptor engines, methane-fueled, highly efficient. As it descends, autonomous systems guide it to a pre-selected landing site within a 100-meter radius. Precision landing technology, LiDAR, terrain mapping, AI, ensures safe touchdown. The landing site is near the lunar South Pole. NASA has identified 13 candidate regions, all within 6 degrees of latitude from the South Pole. These regions offer several advantages. First, water ice. Permanently shadowed craters, cold traps, have accumulated ice over billions of years, delivered by comets and asteroids. This ice is crucial. It can be mined for drinking water, oxygen to breathe, and hydrogen and oxygen for rocket fuel. In situ resource utilization, ISRU, means future missions won't need to carry all consumables from Earth. This dramatically reduces costs. Second, sunlight. Peaks and crater rims near the poles receive nearly continuous sunlight for months. This provides solar power for habitats, rovers, and experiments. On the lunar equator, where Apollo landed, nights last 14 Earth days. Equipment must survive extreme cold without power. At the South Pole, sunlight is constant, enabling continuous operations. Third, science. The South Pole is geologically ancient and relatively unexplored. Ice cores might preserve a record of the solar system's history. Volatile compounds, water, carbon dioxide, ammonia, can reveal where they originated. Crater floors, untouched by sunlight for billions of years, might hold organic molecules, offering clues about life's building blocks. Once Starship lands, the two astronauts prepare for surface operations. They'll don advanced spacesuits, Axiom Space's Exploration Extravehicular Activity Suit, AxEMU. These suits are far superior to Apollo's. Greater mobility. Astronauts can kneel, bend, reach overhead. Enhanced life support. 8-hour EVAs compared to Apollo's 3 to 4 hours. Improved thermal protection. Handling extreme South Pole temperature swings, and integrated communication and navigation systems. Exiting Starship. Astronauts use an elevator. Starship is too tall to jump from. They descend to the surface and step onto the moon. The first woman to walk on the moon. The first person of color. Historic firsts. And the first humans in 55 years. The view will be stunning and eerie. The sun hangs low on the horizon, casting long, dark shadows. Crater walls loom, jagged and steep. The sky is black, no atmosphere to scatter light. Earth hovers above, a blue marble in the void. And underfoot, gray regolith, lunar dust, fine as talc, clinging to everything. The astronauts will conduct 4 moonwalks over the week-long stay. Each moonwalk has objectives. First moonwalk, site survey. Deploy cameras, set up communication equipment, familiarize with terrain. Second moonwalk, scientific sampling. Collect rocks, drill cores, photograph geology. Third moonwalk, NRHO demonstration. Use a small drill to extract ice from a shadowed crater. Test processing techniques. Fourth moonwalk, long-range traverse. Drive a rover, if available, or hike to secondary sites, expanding exploration radius. Scientific instruments will be deployed. Seismometers to detect moonquakes. Heat flow probes to measure subsurface temperatures. Magnetometers to study lunar magnetic anomalies. Experiments will test technologies. 3D printing habitats from regolith, growing plants in lunar soil, generating power from lunar resources. Everything learned will inform future missions and permanent bases. Meanwhile, the 2 astronauts remaining in Orion will conduct their own science, orbital observations, mapping, spectroscopy, photographing potential future landing sites, and they'll monitor surface operations, ready to assist if problems arise. This division of labor mirrors Apollo. Command module pilot orbits while lunar module crew descends. But Orion and Starship are far more capable than Apollo's spacecraft. After a week, the surface astronauts return to Starship. They load samples, rocks, ice, regolith, into storage. Starship's engines ignite, lifting off from the moon. No countdown, no launch pad, just engines and ascent. Starship climbs, guided by autonomous systems, and rendezvous with Orion in NRHO. The astronauts transfer back to Orion, bringing samples. Starship is left in orbit, potentially reusable for future missions. With all 4 astronauts reunited, Orion fires its engines, departing lunar orbit and beginning the journey home. The return takes several days. Orion coasts toward Earth, gradually accelerating under Earth's gravity. Finally, it slams into the atmosphere at 40,000 kilometers per hour. The heat shield, tested on Artemis III, glows orange, reaching 2800 degrees Celsius. Plasma engulfs the capsule. Communications blackout. Then parachutes deploy, 11 of them, slowing Orion to splashdown speed. Orion hits the Pacific Ocean, where recovery teams await. The astronauts emerge, triumphant, and the samples, lunar rocks and ice from the South Pole, are transported to labs for analysis. Artemis III represents decades of work. After Apollo 17, lunar exploration ceased. Budget cuts, shifting priorities, and the Space Shuttle program consumed NASA's attention. But in the 2010s, momentum rebuilt. The vision for space exploration, announced in 2004, called for returning to the Moon. NASA developed Constellation program, cancelled in 2010. Then, in 2017, Space Policy Directive 1 mandated lunar return. Artemis was born. Named after Apollo's twin sister, Greek goddess of the moon and hunt, Artemis symbolizes inclusivity and sustainability. Unlike Apollo's flags and footprints approach, Artemis aims for permanent presence. The Lunar Gateway, a small space station in NRHO, will support missions. Surface habitats will house astronauts for months. Commercial partnerships will deliver cargo. International collaboration, ESA, JAXA, CSA, will contribute modules, technology, and astronauts. But Artemis III has faced delays. Originally planned for 2024, then 2025, now mid-2027. Why? Technical challenges. SLS development took longer than expected. Orion's heat shield showed issues during Artemis I re-entry, delamination that required investigation. SpaceX's Starship HLS is still in development. Multiple test flights have occurred, but orbital refueling, critical for Starship to reach the Moon, hasn't been demonstrated yet. NASA officials worry that Starship delays might push Artemis III beyond 2027. There's also competition. China announced plans to land taikonauts on the Moon by 2030. This has sparked a new space race. NASA Administrator Bill Nelson has stated the U.S. must return first, framing Artemis as geopolitical as well as scientific, and budget concerns loom. SLS costs about $4 billion per launch. Expensive. The Trump administration's 2026 budget proposal even suggested canceling SLS after Artemis III, relying instead on commercial alternatives like Starship. Despite challenges, Artemis III moves forward. Crew selection is underway. NASA hasn't announced names yet, but the crew will be diverse, reflecting the astronaut corps. Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen, Artemis II's crew, are candidates, or NASA might select others from its astronaut roster. Whoever flies will make history. Training is intense. Astronauts practice geology, identifying rocks, using sampling tools. They train in Arizona's volcanic fields, simulating lunar terrain. They rehearse moonwalks in NASA's Neutral Buoyancy Lab, underwater, simulating lunar gravity. They fly T-38 jets, maintaining piloting skills. And they study Starship systems, complex, cutting-edge technology requiring deep understanding. Public interest is enormous. Artemis III will be broadcast globally. Cameras on Starship, astronaut helmets, and Orion will provide live feeds. Millions will watch the landing. Humanity's return to the Moon after more than half a century. Social media will explode. Schools will pause classes. It will be a cultural moment, like Apollo 11 was in 1969. Beyond Artemis III, the program expands. Artemis IV, planned for 2028, will deliver the first Lunar Gateway module and conduct another landing. Artemis V will use Blue Origin's Blue Moon lander, diversifying landing systems. Subsequent missions, Artemis VI, VII, and beyond, will establish infrastructure, habitats, power stations, ISRU facilities. By the mid-2030s, NASA envisions continuous lunar presence, astronauts rotating through missions, living on the moon for months at a time, and then Mars. Everything learned on the moon applies to Mars. ESRU, producing fuel and water from local resources, long-duration life support, radiation protection, autonomous systems. The moon is a proving ground. Mars is the goal. NASA's current timeline: send humans to Mars in the late 2030s. Artemis makes that possible. But first, Artemis III must succeed, landing 2 astronauts safely, conducting meaningful science, returning them home. It's risky. Spaceflight always is. Apollo 1 killed 3 astronauts in a launch pad fire. Apollo 13 nearly ended in disaster. Every mission carries danger. But the rewards, knowledge, inspiration, progress, are worth it. Artemis III will answer questions. How much ice is at the South Pole? Can we extract and use it? What is the moon's South Pole geology? Are there resources for permanent bases? And it will inspire. A new generation will watch humans walk on the moon. Children will dream of becoming astronauts. Scientists will imagine new experiments. Engineers will design better spacecraft. Humanity will look up and see not a distant, dead rock, but a destination. A second home. A stepping stone to the stars. Artemis III is more than a mission. It's a statement that we can return, that we can do better than before, that we can include everyone, regardless of gender, race, or nationality, that we can work together, nations, companies, individuals, toward common goals, that we can explore not for competition, but for discovery, and that the moon, once abandoned, can become part of humanity's future. In mid-2027, 2 astronauts will stand on the moon. They'll look up at Earth, suspended in the black sky. And they'll know they're part of something greater, not just visitors, but pioneers, not just explorers, but builders. The first of many who will call the moon home. Welcome to Artemis III. The return is real, the future is here, and the moon is waiting.